Welcome to Totally Based. I'm Joey Gaskin, and today I want to talk about these Maui fires. The story that's out right now is telling us that these fires were started by power lines. But if you look at some of these videos online of the locals, it seems like they're not in full agreement with that. It almost seems like they feel like this was a land grab. And so I kind of want to take a look at what we know, what we don't know, and just make an observation based on that. So my plan today is just to show you guys some clips and get some of your feedback. You guys can tell me what you think. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that show, Crime Scene Kitchen, where the contestants go in the kitchen and they have to figure out what was made in the kitchen based on the clues they find. Well, that's what we're going to do today, okay? Just take a look at, again, things we know, things we don't, make a full observation, and just present our ideas. So, to kick us off, what I'd like to do is show you a few clips of some of the locals from Lahaina, and you can hear their testimony of what they think and what happened to them. And then I'll also show you a clip of the governor, and you can hear his plans for Lahaina. All right? So I'll show you that, we'll come back, and I'll give you my spill.
And I want to know when we get to go back to our home in Waianae. Maybe it's gone, but for reasons that I don't want to discuss, we need to go back there. Are you guys going to just scrape it all away and say disaster zone? And America's going to get what they want, their satellite city? Because this was planned years ago. It's now happening. And all the poor people, the homeless, the hardworking people of the hotels, the kapuna, we lost everything. So you could have your satellite city. This isn't fair. I feel like I was used. I feel like crap on the ground. We're not the ones living up in Laniapoku. Not one of those houses burned. Puamana is still there. Lahaina Shores is still there. Everything beyond the Civic Center is there, but the homes where we were working, where we were scraping, where we had less than $1,000 a month to pay for our basic needs of gas and food. We busted our ass, and this is what we get? Nobody called us. Our phones didn't work from 5 in the morning. The fire was not 10 o'clock when I went to work. The fire was still there. There was no water. Tell me if that's coincidence. No water, no warning, and everybody talking about the satellite city before the fire. Lahaina gonna be the first satellite city. Well, hey, Jeff Bezos, you got what you wanted. Oprah, you got what you wanted. And the guy who owns the nut, you got what you wanted. Fuck us all over. That's what happened.
They're crying. Yeah, it's heavy right now. You should feel that heaviness because this was not a natural disaster. And I would like actually samples taken from the soil. You guys put the screen up. You won't let anyone see what's going on inside. But we know very well that you guys, as the third largest stakeholders, the state, do want that land and can take it when you deem it a natural disaster. And that is disgusting. And that is why I'm also here today, because someone needs to call that out. We wanted the samples right away. You guys stopped the people from going in. It's just awful.
Think of this as numbers for buildings, for money. What about the people? What about the families that have been destroyed by this fire? And for the record, I will say this. It was not a natural disaster. This emergency proclamation is a fall. And let me tell you why. Because all of the hearings you hear, all of the testimony you hear, all of the social media you hear, it connects the dots to what's happening in Lahaina. Lahaina was our first United Kingdom capital. Funny how all the common people were taken out in one fell swoop of a fire.
Priority in the first 100 days.
So rules will be changed in the first 100 days?
Rules will be changed.
Green says if necessary, he'll use emergency powers to adjust some of the processes that are obstructing the ability to build housing.
And so an emergency proclamation may be coming.
Is there a rule in particular that you think needs to be amended?
Well, they've had a lot of problems with the permitting process, and I think that has to be expedited. That's one. Also, moving some land that has been stuck where people had planned to build and haven't done it.
Wait a minute!
Along with the FEMA director about preserving Lahaina moving forward.
I'm already thinking about ways for the state to acquire that land so that we can put it into workforce housing, to put it back into families, or to make it open spaces in perpetuity as a memorial to people who were lost. We want this to be something that we remember after the pain passes as a magic place. And Lahaina will rebuild. The tragedy right now is the loss of life. The buildings can be rebuilt over time. Even the banyan tree may survive. But we don't want this to become a cleared space where then, yes, people from overseas just come and decide they're going to take it. The state will take it and preserve it first.
People here. Maybe it's different for you because you just got here, huh? So it's not the same. It's not the same.
No comment?
You have to look up one photo.
No comment right now, guys.
No comment?
Yeah.
I'm not talking to the chief, sir.
Yeah. I understand.
Why doesn't he want to speak to the people? Only to a camera.
You can give your statement later.
No, we called up. We've been looking for him. I thought we were going to do Top Story Tuesdays all over the island. He's a cup of coffee. Haven't seen him. Been looking for him for a couple of years. What happened? Can you explain Pono to me again, sir, and aloha? I'd love to hear it from you. Why are you shaking your head? Why are you shaking your head, sir? You don't want to answer, huh? Okay.
We'll talk to you another time, guys.
Yeah, he won't talk to us another time. That's the thing. It's a very cowardly move. It's shocking.
Do you regret not sounding the sirens?
I do not. And the reason why, and
So many people said they could have been saved if they had time to escape. Had a siren gone off, they would have known that there was a crisis emerging. And as we know, so many bodies were found in the ground.
Do you want him to give you the answer, or do you want to give? Well, then let him finish. Let him finish his answer.
Sorry, there's a lot of people.
Well, you're talking and you're not letting him talk.
All right, so based on that, it sounds like the locals are pretty convinced this was not a natural disaster. But again, we got to start with what we know, right? So we'll start with the narrative. And the narrative is these fires were caused by power lines. The power lines were bad. They had naked wires. They weren't insulated. And due to the dry grasses and the high winds, this just created the perfect storm, right? That's what we know. From there, we also know that Lahaina had poor water management. And through the lack of water, they weren't able to put these fires out. So those are things that we know. But what about the red flags? You have elite billionaires like Oprah buying 870 acres for $6.6 million. It's pretty cheap. You have things like that happen back in March. You have disaster capitalists calling these victims in their worst time of need, offering them like $100,000 for their home, knowing that they're pricing them way low. You even have what I'll call future planners. All right, these are people who have ideas or new purposes for the land. They want to set up things like smart cities or satellite cities, and the locals don't want to sell their land to them. I think the biggest one of all, though, is probably the emergency powers, the emergency proclamation set by the governor, Josh Green. Him putting that into place gives him all the power to change anything in Lahaina with the stroke of a pen. And you hear the testimonies of the people and the things that they're saying. Them talking about the sirens and how they didn't go off. Talking about the barricades and how the roads were blocked. There's a lot of things that just, again, they don't seem right. We also have to talk about the black fence that's been set up. They've paid $3 million to set up this black fence around Lahaina that's keeping people out. And they're also telling people not to come to the island. Tourism is the lifeblood of Lahaina. It is the lifeblood. It's what makes their economy run. So why would you tell people not to come? I get some of the reasons as to why, but if you ask some of the victims, they want people to come. So I don't know. These are the things that we have to look at, the things that we have to examine. As time progresses, we'll kind of get a better picture of what's going to happen. But I just wanted to throw that at you guys and get a feel as to what you think. Is this a land grab? I don't know. Let me know down in the comments. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.